Well, happy New Year, Inside Out. How are you guys doing? Awesome. Well, I am so excited to be back. We've been off for the last 2 weeks on break, and I'm not going to lie, it's pretty great. I'm a junior in high school, so if I don't know you, my name is Klein. But if you know anything about junior year, it's really the easiest year. You never have mental breakdowns, you never cry, you never fail your tests, you never go to tutorials every week. If you can't tell, I'm being sarcastic. Junior year can be really, really rough, but it makes being on break that much better and more enjoyable because literally laying down and doing absolutely nothing is so fun to me during break sometimes because I'm just like, at least I'm not in school, right? And so break has been pretty fun the last few weeks. I just got back from going to Wyoming. That was fun. I went on a 20-hour car ride with my family, which I don't recommend because that was pretty interesting, but I am from Texas, so I'm born and raised in Texas, so anything colder than like 70 degrees to me, I know that's funny, but it's freezing to me. So this was an adjustment, but it was really pretty, really enjoyable to get to go to Wyoming. So break has been enjoyable so far, but I'm excited that we are back. I'm excited that we are in a new year, kicking off a brand new series called Resolution. But I don't know about any of you guys, but when a new year comes, I just get this feeling where it's like, oh my gosh, I need to like get my life together. Like Christmas was fun, break was fun, but now I'm in January, and if I don't get my life together in the first like 2.5 weeks, then 2019 or whatever year it is going to be awful. And so I've been feeling that the last few weeks, this pressure about like, oh my gosh, I need really good goals, really good resolutions. I need to have this year be my year. And I haven't really been doing that yet. I haven't created any resolutions or goals or anything yet. Have any of you guys made some already, but you've already dropped them because you're like, yeah, next year maybe? No one has already dropped their resolutions? Okay, a couple, cool. How many of you have just like decided you're not gonna make any this year? You're like, not me this year. Or like maybe you set some low ones because you're like, I actually wanna achieve them for once. I'm kinda in the middle of those two groups because I haven't created them, but I'm like, I kinda want to, but at the same time, I know I'm not gonna stick with them. So I went to Twitter and I looked at some interesting, creative, inspirational, I guess, like resolutions that I thought I'd share with you guys. So here's a couple that I found on Twitter. Some are from years past, some are from this past few years, but this one I thought was funny. My New Year's resolution is to try and put less than 4 chapsticks through the washer and dryer. I like this because it's aiming really, really low, but how disappointed would you be at the end of the year if like you couldn't even achieve this one? And then there's a couple more that I found. This one says, New Year's resolution. This year, I'm going to incorporate I don't roll that way into at least one conversation a week. This one I feel like would be relatively easy for me because anytime my mom asks me to do anything, my reaction is like, yeah, I don't roll that way. I don't want to do that, Mom. I don't want to clean my room. I don't want to do my homework. I don't want to walk the dog, all of those things. I don't roll that way. There's a couple other ones that I thought were funny. My New Year's resolution is to be more efficient. So I'm giving up on it right now instead of wasting all January acting like I can achieve it. And this is me kind of right now because I haven't made goals yet. And I'm just like, is it already too late? And here's a couple more. My New Year's resolution is to spend less time interacting with people and more time with my phone. Doing pretty well so far. And again, I also feel that way right now because I've just been laying down doing nothing the last few days, but those are just a couple funny New Year's resolutions if you needed inspiration or something. They didn't help me. I still don't have any. But all jokes aside, this really is that season of the year where everyone's focused on themselves. This is the season all about self-improvement. In teenage slang terms, it's the phase of the year where we start to ask ourselves, how can I live my best life? How can I make this year mine? What diet do I need to start? What workout plan do I need to start? What goals do I need to achieve this year to make 2019 the best year yet? It really is that phase of the year where we start to ask ourselves that question. But I think it's funny because back in December, so if we're talking about December time frame, that's kind of the phase or the time of year where it's kind of like a lot of like generosity. It's a lot of family time, spending time with people. Everyone seems to be happy and like having a good time. And then we jump over to January, and January feels like the most selfish time of year. We just went from spending all this time being so generous, hanging out with people, to like, it is a new year, and I have to accomplish all my goals. I have to accomplish all my dreams this year. This is my year, so if you're in the way, you need to leave me alone. And it's funny because these days are 24 hours apart, yet our mindset at the end of a year is completely different to the first week, couple days of a brand new year. And I was thinking about it the last few weeks about what goals, what resolutions that I want to make this year to make 2019 a good year. And I was really struggling because every resolution or goal I've made in the past, it really hasn't been that significant to my year. It hasn't made or broken my year based on if I achieved it or didn't achieve it. In fact, I looked up some really popular, New Year's resolutions from the last few years. One of the most popular ones is dieting, eating healthy. The next one is exercising more, losing weight. This one I resonate with, save more, spend less. Ever since I got my license, it just seems like there's never enough money. Learn a new skill or hobby, and then read more. And these are a couple of the most popular resolutions. But when I think about a list like this, even if we got all of these right, like even if we ate a little bit better, exercised some more, saved $100, learned a new skill, read 5 books this year, even if we did every single one of these, I don't think these would be the thing that made this year significant or made this year different. Even if we failed at every single one of these, I don't think that would ruin the year completely and that 2019 would be a terrible year. In fact, I found my resolutions that I wrote last year, I found them this week, and I thought it was funny because I didn't achieve any of them, and I don't think I attempted any of them either. Some of my resolutions from last year, this is a real thing. I wrote this on Christmas morning of 2017. I said I would eat healthier. I would drink water only, which, again, I don't think I attempted that one. Limited fast food, which if you're my friend, you know I didn't attempt that one. I said I would daily journal. I didn't really do that. I'd burn candles and relax. I don't think I burned a candle at all in 2018. This one's the funniest to me. I said I would wake up 5 minutes earlier than normal. No snooze, less rush, more calm. And religiously, for the last 7 months of 2018, I used the snooze button like 2 or 3 times every single morning. So I thought that was funny. I didn't even get close to achieving that. I said I would adventure more, and I listed all these places I wanted to go. The only place I went was Zilker Park. So I really failed at my New Year's resolutions last year, if you can't tell. But I was thinking about this list and how I create these resolutions every year, and I'm like, you know what, this is going to be my year, and if I do all these things right, then this year will be great. But as I looked back at my resolutions, I was like, even if I would have done all of those things, that would have been cool. Like, it would have been awesome to like improve myself and like do these cool things, and self-improvement's always a good thing. It's not a bad thing. But those wouldn't have been the things that made 2018 significant for me. Those wouldn't have been the things that made 2018 a year to remember. And like you saw, I failed at every single one of those resolutions, and those weren't the things that were difficult last year. The fact that I didn't achieve any of my resolutions didn't make last year any less significant to me. So then I started to think, well, what will make this year significant? Right? We all know this to be true. In fact, your grandma has never came to you and said, you know what, in 1940, I read a book a month, and I will never forget it. Your mom would never come to you and say, you know what, in 1980, I ran 10 miles each month, and it was the most significant year of my life. My aunt would never be like, Klein, you know what, we need to talk. In 2000, I saved $500, and I will never be the same person because of it. My dad would never say, Klein, you need to know that I will never forget 2006 because I lost 10 pounds. Like, all of those are just like funny, they're humorous because no one would actually say those things. No one would actually say, you know what, these New Year's resolutions that I made about my diet or my weight or about exercise, all of these things, or reading more or gaining knowledge, none of those things or the things that made 2019 memorable or that year memorable. None of those things were the things that changed my life or that I will remember for years down the road. None of those things made my life any more significant, my year any more significant. Now, those self-improvement goals, they're not a bad thing, but what would really make 2019 a significant year? If goals and resolutions like those aren't the things we will remember, what will we remember? And to answer this question, I want to look at what a guy named Paul has to say, because Paul lived thousands and thousands of years ago, but people still talk about the life that he lived. Like, arguably every single year of Paul's life, he did something that impacted people. He did something significant that people still talk about. And so he writes this letter in the book of 1 Corinthians. He's writing to the people of Corinth, which is around like present-day Greece. And he's writing this letter, and he's giving them advice, and he says this. He says, if I speak in the tongues of men or of angels, but do not have love, I am only a resounding gong or a clanging cymbal. In other words, if I have all of these talents, like I can do everything, but I don't do it with love, I don't possess love, then all it is noise. There's no meaning behind my actions. And he continues on, he says, if I have the gift of prophecy and can fathom all mysteries and all knowledge, and if I have a faith that can move mountains, but do not have love, I am nothing. So I can know everything there is to know. I can have faith that can move mountains, But if there's no love, it means nothing. And he finishes, he says, if I give all I possess to the poor and give over my body to hardship, that I may boast, but do not have love, I gain nothing. So yeah, I can serve other people, I can give to other people, but if I don't do it for the right reasons, if it's still all about me and myself, there's no love involved, then it still doesn't mean anything. It's not significant. It won't change your life. It won't change this year. And so when I heard this verse at first, I was like, okay, that kind of makes sense, I guess. Like, I could have everything in the world, but if I don't have love and I'm not nice and I don't make people feel good, then it doesn't matter. But what we can miss easily with this passage is that Paul actually is writing in Greek. He's writing this letter in Greek, and there's no word in the English language that translates to this word love that he was using. So he wasn't using a word love that meant like a feeling or an emotion. The word that he used here was a form of love that was like self-sacrificial love, the kind of love that is action-oriented. It's generous. It's giving. It's not just a feeling or an emotion. It was a word that meant so much more to that. We don't even have a word in the English language that really directly translate to what he was trying to say here. Basically, he's saying you can have everything, you can experience everything, you can achieve every goal, every resolution that you set for yourself, but if it only has to do with yourself, no part of it is self-sacrificial, no part of it is action-oriented, no part of it is about loving others, then it won't change the year. It won't make this year significant or different. In fact, I heard an author say it this way, and I think this makes good sense. And he said, whoever devotes themselves to themselves will have nothing but themselves to show for themselves. So if you spend your whole life thinking about yourself, and every goal and resolution and thing you chase is only about bettering yourself, at the end of the day, the only thing you have to show for that is yourself and your achievements. But if you choose to work outside of you, right, that self-sacrificial love, action-oriented kind of love, well, then now you have relationships. Now you have friendships to show for that. Now you've impacted people's lives. You have stories to tell. You have memories and relationships to show for it. It's not just about yourself. I think Paul would say when it comes to a year, when it comes to time and the life that we live, significance is found in our love for others. It's found in the way that we show up. We sacrifice our time and our energy, and we love people through actions. What if we lived in a world where our New Year's resolutions had less to do with ourselves and more to do with the people around us, right? Goals and self-improvement goals, those aren't a bad thing. Those aren't a bad thing at all, but the way the year will be significant, the way the year will be different, is if our list consists more about people that are around us. Maybe your list this year is just a list of names of people that you want to show up and love, people that you want to get to know, people that you want to prioritize. I know personally I can be very absent-minded sometimes, so I'll be talking to someone and I'm completely like not paying attention, or they'll text me and I completely not reply to them. Maybe that's a goal for you this year, is to be more present with the people around you, to have tough conversations, prioritize relationships, take more people to dinner, lunch, coffee, those sorts of things. But what if we lived in a world that looked like that? What if our year felt different because we chose to live for something greater than ourselves? Like I said earlier, when I think about my own past New Year's resolutions and years and goals and things like that, the years and moments that I remember the most have nothing to do with goals that I set for myself. It has nothing to do with the fact that I may have read 2 more books this year than I did last year, even though I didn't do that. But it has nothing to do with those moments. It has nothing to do with exercise or a goal that I set about wanting to do yoga or drink more water or things like that. Those aren't the things that I remember. In fact, when I think about the last few years of my life and the things that I remember and the things that made those years different and significant, it has nothing to do with those. In fact, when I think about a year like 2015, 2015 was a different year for me, a significant year for me, and I will never forget 2015, because 2015 was the first time that I ever got to go to boot camp or Camp 75. And I'd never been before. I hadn't gone to church in a couple years. But now when I think about 2015, the very first thing I think about was that moment that I came and was a part of something that was bigger than myself. It wasn't a goal or a resolution that I set this year. I can't tell you any goals or resolutions that I set in 2015, but it was a moment. It was being with other people. It was loving outside of myself. It was action-oriented. And now every year after that, the first thing I think of is okay, what boot camp or Camp 75 was that? Who was my captain? What team was I on? Where was boot camp at? Those are the first things I think of now every single year after that. When I think about 2016 was significant and important to me because it was the very first time that I ever invited my family to come to North Point, which I could have imagined was really weird for them because I was the kid when I was younger that sat in the car and was like, I'm sick. And they were like, you're not. And I was always like crying and I didn't want to go at all. And then 2016 came and I was like, Mom and Dad, y'all should come to church with me. And they were like, this is really weird. So 2016 is significant and memorable because it was the first time my family came with me to church. 2017 is memorable, significant, different for me because it was the first time I ever spoke on a stage in transit, and I was terrified, and I was like, I want to do it, but I don't feel like I should. I don't feel like I'm qualified to do it. I don't know. And so I was really like scared backstage, and I was thinking about it, and I was like, okay, well, someone before me, when I first came to North Point, someone had to get on a stage. They were probably nervous too, and they had to communicate to me. And if they wouldn't have done that, then I wouldn't be here in this situation to begin with. And so now I do it for other people in hopes that what I have to say is something they need to hear. And so that year was different for me because of that. 2018, last year, was different for me in a lot of ways. There was a lot of good times, a lot of bad times. But 2018 was not significant to me because I read any number of books. It wasn't significant to me because I ate any less fast food or did any of that stuff. It wasn't significant because I didn't achieve any of my resolutions or goals. 2018 was significant for so many different reasons, but one of the things that I remember the most from the very beginning of the year was actually in 2018, we had our first ever My Life, which was really cool because we'd never done this before, so no one knew what to expect. And I remember thinking, like right before we went to My Life, I was like, okay, this is cool. It's an opportunity to invite someone to something. I don't really know what to expect either. And I was like, this should be fun, whatever. But what was interesting to me about My Life, it was an opportunity for me to invite someone to come with me. It was an opportunity to invite someone to experience it with me. And I remember thinking, you know what, this reminds me of my very first boot camp or Camp 75 when someone had to risk everything to invite me, right? Someone had to risk a no, someone had to risk rejection, their embarrassment, their pride a little bit to be like, hey, you should come with me. And now I had the opportunity to do the same thing with My Life. And I think what's really cool in this new year already, in just a few weeks, we're having our second ever My Life, which is coming up, and it's really close, and that's exciting and all. But what I think is really cool is we have another opportunity to love outside of ourselves, another opportunity to make this year different and significant by reaching outside of ourselves and living for something greater. I think it would be an incredibly loving thing to do this year to say, you know what, I have this friend, and if they were in the room for My Life, I just think their life would be better because of it. And maybe they'll get to know God on the way, but regardless, I think if they were in the room, it would just be different for them. I'm going to risk a no. I'm going to risk a rejection. I'm going to risk my pride a little bit to go and talk to them about it. And I'm just going to say, you know what? I think this is something you would like, and I would love for you to be a part of that. I think this would be an incredible thing that you could do for someone, an incredibly loving way that you could express your gratitude to someone is to invite them to be a part of something like this, regardless of the consequences or the no or the rejection that comes along with it. But there's so many other ways, not just My Life. That was one that just came to mind for me. But there's so many ways this year that we can go outside of ourselves to live for something greater. Maybe there's an organization or something that you are passionate about and you want to serve or be a part of that. Maybe there's people, like I said earlier, that you want to invest in and spend time with and get to know. Like I said earlier, I am a little bit absent-minded sometimes, so I hope to be a little bit more present with people on the other side of me this year. And there's so many ways this year that we can choose to live for something greater than ourselves, to take risks and not just make goals about self-improvement, not just make goals about ourselves, but instead to look to the people around us and ask ourselves, how can we love them better? How can we show up and be for them in a way that we haven't before? Because I think those are the moments and those are the things that will make 2019 different. I think those are the things that we will remember down the road, not these resolutions we set about ourselves, but instead those moments that we looked around us and we asked ourselves, in what way can we love those people? I think those will be the moments we remember and the ways that that year will be significant. So in just a second, we're going to go to small groups. Small groups is a time where we get to talk and hang out and after the message. And what I want you guys to be thinking about on the way to small groups and in small groups is just, what is that way this year that you can make 2019 different? Maybe the years in the past haven't gone how you wanted them to go, but what way can you make this year different? Can you make this year significant and one to remember? I want us to think about that on the way to small groups, but before we do, I would love to pray for you guys. Dear God, thank you so much for today, and thank you for Inside Out, and just that we get to be back after a couple weeks. God, I pray for school coming up. I know a lot of us aren't looking forward to that, God, but we get a really unique opportunity every single year to love on the people around us, God. There is someone that we will pass in the hallway that needs that. There is someone that we will see this year that needs that. And there is a way, God, that we can show up and love outside of ourselves this year, God. I just pray that you can remind us of that, God, and that we can make 2019 a year that is significant and a year that is different and a year that we will remember, God. Thank you for today. Thank you for this time. I pray this all in your son's name. Amen.